All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Eric Paulzine with 905 Sports. We're going to be getting into the first look here for week 2. And it is an exciting week. We already made it through 1 week of the NFL DFS season. And so for this video, I'm just going to be going position by position, breaking down the players that I think are going to be strong plays in week 2. Obviously, this video is going out on Tuesday. Things can change. Things can change by Saturday or Sunday morning. And when those updates come, I'll be coming out with another more concrete video, whether it's a quarter plays video, a cash plays video. This is just to get us started for the week. Okay, guys? So let's get started here. So last week, the theme was that you didn't necessarily have to pay up for receivers because we had a lot of strong receiver value. And even with the running back plays, like JT, you definitely wanted to pay up for. And I'm not saying you don't want to pay for JT again on this slate, but the receiver plays are a lot more strong this week than they were last week. Like Cooper Kupp absolutely dominated last week, caught 13 passes on 15 targets for 128 yards and a touchdown. Okay, he's going against the Atlanta Falcons, which should be a better matchup on paper as well. Matthew Stafford, he didn't play all preseason, nor did Cooper Kupp. I think Matthew Stafford's going to be a little bit more sharp, and we just saw the Falcons get torched by the Saints, by Jameis Winston, by Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas, and Chris Olave. Like, I don't think the Falcons are going to be a good pass defense, and they really shouldn't provide any resistance. So yes, Cooper Kupp should be kind of locked in to get at least 20 DK points, but I would much rather play Devontae Adams at a little bit cheaper of a price tag. We just saw the Arizona Cardinals get absolutely lit up by a bunch of receivers that were receivers number two options last year. MVS, well, not really MVS, but the Chiefs receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster, the Chiefs receivers had a strong game. The passing game was there for the Chiefs, okay? Going against the Cardinals, I don't think that's going to be really a matchup that we're too worried about in terms of Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams had 17 targets, 141 yards, and a touchdown. Like, those targets are probably going to be there for him again. Maybe not 17, but he did catch 10 passes. I would say more or less he's going to be around 10 targets. But yes, he's going to be heavily targeted. He'd be a player that I'm going out of my way to play. I will say Deebo Samuel as well. With Elijah Mitchell out, it wouldn't be shocking to see him be involved in the run game like he was last week. Now, some of those were end arounds, but his touchdown did come out of the backfield last week. Obviously, that game was sloppy. You don't really take anything into account from last week, just the fact that Elijah Mitchell got injured. So with that, I think Deebo Samuel could be a decent play. Now, do you want to pay 7.8K for him? Probably not, but I do think he's going to have a nice safe floor. The targets are going to be there for him. He had 8 targets last week. And yes, that's not saying much in that monsoon of a game pretty much, but if those targets are going to continue to be there for him, he should have a nice safe floor, like 15 DK points or so. Not a terrible play, but I would much rather go with someone like Tyreek Hill. So the assumption this offseason was that the offense for the Miami Dolphins would flow through Tyreek Hill. And we absolutely saw that come true in week 1. That was against the Patriots, who kind of knew to try to stop that. They kind of knew that that would be the assumption. And he still had 8 catches on 12 targets for 94 yards. Okay. I think that's going to be the norm. I think he's going to get targeted heavily. And we can get Tyreek Hill at 7.1. That is highly appealing against Baltimore, who I don't want to say they struggled against the pass last week, but the Jets definitely threw the ball a ton. And I don't really see this being like a matchup that you're worried about, especially at this price point with Tyreek Hill, especially given the targets that he should get in this one. Like, I like Tyreek Hill, I like Devontae Adams. We're starting this slate off with 2 studs, 2 guys that should get 10 plus targets. From there, there's a lot of decent plays. Like Mike Evans probably going to get targeted a decent amount with Chris Godwin out. Like, you could go with him. I don't mind that. But where I want to go, like, I don't mind Courtland Sutton going against Houston. I think you could potentially stack him and Russell Wilson together. I don't mind that. Deontay Johnson, pretty cheap for a guy that should get 10 targets once again. Michael Thomas, not terrible play. But I really like Christian Kirk once again, guys. So Christian Kirk did have that heavily targeted game that we expected. If there's one play that I was like just locked in on, it was Christian Kirk last week. So he only caught the ball 6 receptions, but he had 117 yards. Okay, they did throw the ball a lot. I think those targets are going to continue to be there for him. Maybe 8 targets in this one for 6 catches. Now, Trevor Lawrence's accuracy issues were still there, where you can't put it on a receiver in stride. They always kind of have to work for it, but Christian Kirk at 5.7 for a guy that's going to get targeted heavily, I'm definitely still interested in that. I think he's going to be a great play once again. And the Colts they did get passed on last week. So we're not too worried about that matchup just yet. From there, I don't mind Brandon Ayuk. The first play of the game went to him. I believe it might have been the second play. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he was involved early, I guess. And that game was just terrible. It's not a game that you're going to pass in. Okay, the Seattle Seahawks defense, they were giving up big chunk yard plays the whole game. So I do think the Niners are going to go back, watch the film, know they can run the ball, but also the passing game is going to be there for him. So I do expect Brandon Ayuk to have a big game. I kind of expect it to be a little bit of last year, late season, where he was getting targeted heavily and Deebo Samuel was kind of getting used a little bit more in the run game. I kind of expect that a little bit more here. Jarvis Landry, just for the targets that he got, 9 targets, 7 catches, 140 yards, like probably not going to get that production again, but 5 receptions for 60 yards, like 11 DK points at this price point, not terrible. Like he's a play that if you end up on him, I'd be perfectly fine with it. More of a shoulder shrug play for me at that price point, but he did look good. A lot of these times with these veteran receivers, what I'm looking for is, do they still have that burst? And he did. He had that burst, and now that'll probably fade away as the season goes on. But it was nice to see that he still had that quickness. From there are some, okay plays that you go with in this range, like Braxton Berrios did get targeted a decent amount, 6 targets. Not terrible there. Greg Dortch. So Greg Dortch, our preseason stud, when it came out that Rondale Moore was ruled out, I did think it'd be Greg Dortch and not Andy Isabella stepping up. He got targeted 9 times and had 7 catches for 63 yards. Like I don't really think that's going to change. That is how he looked in the preseason. He was very impressive, okay? And I don't really expect that to change. So if Rondale Moore is ruled out once again, I do think Greg Dortch is going to be a great play once again, value-wise, okay? Like, couldn't he get 10 DK points at 3.5? I absolutely think so. Then the last play that I kind of like that I just want to point out for you guys, receiver-wise, is going to be Kyle Phillips. Is he not on the slate? Tennessee's not on the slate. Okay, he's not. My apologies there. But Kyle Phillips did get targeted a decent amount last game, so someone to look out for. Like if you're making waiver wire moves after watching this video or something like that, Kyle Phillips should be someone that you're kind of looking at because he was targeted a decent amount. Now getting into the running back plays like Jonathan Taylor, yes. If you can pay up for Jonathan Taylor, certainly do that. Going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they didn't really provide any resistance for Antonio Gibson, who was used a decent amount in the passing game, but yeah, a decent amount of chunk yards in the run game as well. He rushed the ball 31 times last week against Houston, 61 yards and a touchdown. Okay, he did have 7 targets and was able to catch 4 of them for 14 yards. I don't think he's going to get targeted that much again, but the fact that they are using him in the passing game is highly intriguing to me. Going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, like he should be able to dominate in this one. Okay, I know last year he didn't really do much in that game. That was a weird game, we know that, but at 9.9, that's still not like too much. I guess it is starting to get up there to the point where you do have to think about it, but he should be able to dominate in this matchup once again. All right, so getting to DeAndre Swift. Now, Washington just let James Robinson run all over them, kind of. He scored 2 touchdowns, and they also let Travis Etienne almost walk in for a receiving TD. Now, I'm not saying like that's like last week's results are always going to be like what we're looking at, but the plays were there for the running backs last week, okay? DeAndre Swift absolutely dominated last week. Okay, he had 18 touches and 175 yards total. Didn't score a touchdown. Okay, Jamal Williams came in and had those touchdowns, which, or he did have a touchdown. That is going to happen. All right, so now looking at DeAndre Swift going against the Washington Commanders. Now, last week, the Washington Commanders gave up points to James Robinson. Okay, he was able to score a couple of touchdowns. And then also Travis Etienne, he dropped a pass that easily could have been a touchdown as well. So they were giving up points to the running back position. So I don't really think the Washington Commanders are going to provide that much resistance to DeAndre Swift, who, absolutely dominated last week. He had 18 touches for 175 yards total, was able to add in a touchdown as well. DeAndre Swift, very impressive. If he's going to continue to get that workload, I like that a lot. And it was a little bit shocking that he only had 3 targets in the passing game. I could see that number going up, but obviously always nice to see that a running back is getting involved in the passing game. Okay, so like Cordero Patterson at 6K is intriguing to me. He did touch the ball a ton. He had 22 carries. Okay, he had 5 targets. He looked explosive. He looked like he did at the start of the year last year when, he was getting all that production. Okay. Now, this is a little bit tougher of a matchup going against the LA Rams, but if we can get a guy that's going to get 20 total touches at 6K that also catches the ball in the backfield, that is intriguing to me. Okay. We did see like Devin Singletary and Zach Moss have room to work last week against the LA Rams. Now, obviously, that offense for Buffalo was a little bit more potent. Okay, you're a little bit worried about other offensive weapons where you're mostly just worried about Cordero Patterson. But I do think Marcus Mariota's legs are going to keep defenses at least honest. So, like, Cordero Patterson at 6K is still intriguing to me. From there, like, I don't mind Antonio Gibson going against Detroit. Detroit should be a defense that we're attacking via running backs a lot. Antonio Gibson was used a decent amount in the passing game. Don't hate him. We got Darrell Henderson, sorry. It wasn't really out of the realm of possibilities that he was the lead running back over Cam Akers. Like, that was certainly in the realm of possibilities. Not really shocking at all, especially if you've been following the videos for, throughout the whole preseason. I kind of mentioned that it was going to be like a 1A, 1B situation, but like Darrell Henderson was going to get his touches. Okay. So it's really not shocking that he was kind of the workhorse back. When he has been healthy, he has looked good. Okay. And also, I do want to mention, like, the rookie running back Williams, like once he's healthy, some reports are coming out saying that he might have a chance to take over as the RB2 over Cam Akers. So definitely weird stuff going on there with Cam Akers, okay? But if Darrell Henderson is going to continue to get this workload, it is someone that intrigues me. Now, I know the Saints running backs didn't exactly dominate against them, Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, but you have Taysom Hill coming in there. He did have a couple of big rushes, okay? And really just with Alvin Kamara, it was just a little bit unlucky. He was able to get like 3 yards, basically a decent amount of his reps. Just nothing, he didn't break anything big, okay, where Taysom Hill did. Like, I'm not too worried about the Atlanta Falcons defense just yet via the run game. So Darrell Henderson, if we can get those same amount of touches, 18 total opportunities at this price point, that is intriguing to me. A player that I really don't mind on the slate. Going lower, Michael Carter, guys, going against the Cleveland Browns. Okay, now they did just shut out Christian McCaffrey, who for all intents and purposes, like if you want to say Michael Carter is a very poor man's version of Christian McCaffrey, just how he was used, where he rushed the ball 10 times but had 9 targets. Like if you want to make that argument, sure. Like role wise, it could be a similar type of role is what I'm trying to say here. So it doesn't exactly bode well, I guess, for Michael Carter. But the thing is, he's priced at 5.2 for a guy that had 9 targets and 7 catches, 19 total opportunities at 5.2. That is intriguing to me. And he is going to be the guy that is catching a decent amount of passes out of the backfield for this offense, at least for the start of the season. 5.2 is a pretty good price point for Michael Carter. He's a player that you could easily end up on if you wanted to. A lot of people are going to gravitate towards Jeff Wilson Jr. And I get it. He should be a pretty good play going against the Seattle Seahawks, who absolutely were just getting gashed pretty much at will by the Denver Broncos. Both Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams looked very good, okay? Jeff Wilson Jr. can easily get like 16 carries, break one big run, and get it, 100 yards. Will he get a touchdown? Maybe. I kind of expect Trey Lance to maybe get a rushing touchdown in that game instead, but, at that price point, to get a guy at 5.1 that should be in a good spot and have a decent amount of carries, like it's not guaranteed. He's not a cash play, but he should be a strong GPP play. Like that play, could be a good one for you. And then from there, just real quickly, guys, quarterbacks I don't love just yet. I'm still trying to figure out the quarterbacks on this slate, like Russell Wilson going against Houston. That's kind of just the obvious play for me. He absolutely lit it up Monday night against the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe they pass the ball a little bit more on the goal line instead of running it and having Melvin and Javonte Williams both fumble, but 42 times he passed the ball, had 340 yards and a touchdown. Like that easily could have been more touchdowns as well, guys. So going against Houston, which looks like it's going to be an easy matchup, I do really like Russell Wilson there. Some other quarterback plays that I don't mind just yet. Derek Carr going against the Arizona Cardinals. I think he can absolutely light it up. You got Matthew Stafford going against the Atlanta Falcons. I think he'll have a good game in that one, a nice strong bounce back game. Guys, like last week was basically a glorified preseason game for Matthew Stafford. Didn't really practice that much in camp and, kind of forced into a game against one of the best teams in the league, if not the best. He still threw the ball 41 times, still had 240 passing yards, and had a touchdown. Sure, he had 3 interceptions, but, it was kind of somewhat expected that he would struggle. From there, I don't mind Trey Lance. I think he's going to have a much better game. I actually like Tua a lot as well, especially if you are playing Tyreek Hill. Tua does make a decent amount of sense. Now, he only threw the ball 33 times, and that is what worries me. But he did have 270 yards passing and a touchdown. Going against Baltimore, maybe he scores 2 touchdowns, The worry is that he's just not passing the ball enough, and maybe you stay away from him because of that. From there, I don't exactly love Jameis Winston just yet, like Jared Goff just yet. Like they can be okay plays, but I don't love them just yet. Trevor Lawrence going against Indy at 5.3. He did pass the ball 42 times, did have 270 yards passing and a touchdown. I think those passing attempts are going to continue to be there for him. Like 40 passing attempts per game, probably going to be there for him. Maybe he scores 2 touchdowns. I mean, he just hasn't been scoring enough touchdowns in the passing game just yet for like anyone to really love him. Now get into the tight end plays like Mark Andrews. He got targeted 7 times, caught 5 passes, 52 yards. Like that's okay. Like that is a floor game for him. Obviously, the bigger games are going to be there for him. If you guys want to use him this week, you can easily do that. From there, I still think TJ Hawkinson at a cheap price point. He only had 7.8 DK points, but he had 7 targets. This is another matchup end game that you can attack with TJ Hawkinson. Not going to be a terrible play for you. Zach Ertz is a play that I actually really like. He should be a little bit more healthy in this game because obviously he was questionable heading into that game. He only had 4 targets for 14 yards, but he did have a touchdown. I expect him to be a little bit more involved in the passing game this week, just given the fact that he should be one more week healthy. We'll say Tyler Higbee getting 11 targets was a little bit shocking. He only caught 5 of them for 39 yards, but Tyler Higbee, if he's going to be involved in that offense that much, as maybe more so than Allen Robinson, that's definitely something I don't think we can ignore heading into week 2. He's someone that you might want to have some pieces of, especially if you are possibly running out, a little bit of an LA Rams stack. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Tyler Higbee would make some sense. And then Tyler Conklin as like one of my favorite value tight end plays on the slate. So he ended up with 7 targets, only 4 catches though for 14 yards. He did add a TD, but I love to see that those targets were there for him. We kind of expected that he would be the pass catching tight end in that offense. He's someone that was gaining a lot of hype in the offseason. And I like to see that he had a productive game. And honestly, guys, I might find myself just paying down at tight end this week. And then from there, really just the last play, the easiest play, honestly, on this slate, guys, is going to be the Bengals D with Dak Prescott out. I mean, you guys know my strategy at defense. It's find the lowest price defense that's not going to go negative, and then just play them. Now, last week, I ended up just playing Chicago because of that monsoon. You guys probably heard me say that I thought the Bears defense was going to be a lot better than people were expecting. They kind of just became an easy play. To me, the Bengals at 2.2 are also a pretty easy play with Dak Prescott out. I don't see them going negative, and they should be able to score at least 3 DK points. And at this price point, that's definitely going to be worth it for me. So trying to finish out this build here, guys, because I have it set kind of how I would want to approach it. Let's see where we need to go with the running back. So I do think Michael Carter, just for now, I'm going to put in, I don't love that. JT, can we fit him in there? Probably not. We're probably not going to be able to make that work, unfortunately, just yet. So throughout the week, I'm going to try to figure out ways that I can fit in Hill there, because I really think he's going to be a strong play. All right, for now, I'm going to put Cordero Patterson in there, just getting, around 20 touches. That is intriguing to me. I don't love that, and that's definitely a spot where I'm probably going to go back to and fix eventually down the road. But for now, for this video, I'm content with it. I don't love it just yet. And actually, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go with that. I don't love that. Let's try to adjust that real quick. Who can we go with instead of Cordero Patterson? I mean, 6K is just such a cheap price point for him, though. It's tough not to play him at that price point. Let's find another quarterback that I can go with that's a little bit cheaper. Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance is going to run the ball a little bit more. We'll go with him for now. Okay, now we have 6K left over for a strong flex play. Cortland Sutton going against the Houston Texans. That should be there. I really don't mind that. That could be a very strong option. Darrell Henderson for now. Okay, so not the best build. Don't love this build. Probably not going to end up on this build, but it does give us an idea of kind of the lineup path, kind of the structure of the week 2 slate. All right, that's all I have for you guys for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like and subscribe. That does help out the channel a lot. If you guys want to join 9 to 5 Nation or become a member on 9 to 5 Sports, the DraftKings side or the NFL DFS side of the membership includes the DraftKings cheat sheet with FanDuel pricing in there as well. And we have the DraftKings lineup optimizer. So if you guys are interested in that, it's $10 a month. But that's all I have for you guys for this video. Let's have a good weekend as always, guys. Let's keep cashing.